And we are back here for another video today. Today we are looking at North Dakota State football, the newest member of the FBS, my apologies, former FCS members of the Missouri Valley Conference. Go Birds. I will be doing an Illinois State prediction later on. The team that beat North Dakota State in the FCS playoffs. What a crazy year it was for the FCS playoffs with the Illinois State run. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below and help me to hit that subscribe button. Help me reach my goal of 6,500 subscribers for the best content here on YouTube for college football predictions. I've been looking around for some of them as I've started to do these videos, looking for other people's opinions, seeing what other people think. There's just really not many of them. So if you want a college football prediction for your team, let me know down in the comment section what team you'd like me to do. And then like this video if you enjoy it. Comment all your thoughts and opinions down below. And it's completely free to subscribe, so hit that subscribe button down below. Let's get into today's video. So I won't get too much into the nitty-gritty of the roster as I want to get into NDSU getting to the FBS in this team and what it will look like in the FBS. So first of all, game against Jacksonville State, I think this is an easy win. I don't think that they'll have any issues with this game. Still, I think Jacksonville State is a decent program. Obviously, they moved up from the FCS to the FBS somewhat recently, but I think that it is a team that still has a learning curve there, unlike NDSU that I think has just less of a learning curve, as NDSU went 12-0 last year with their only loss in the postseason against Illinois State 29-28. But just listen to some of these wins: 48-16, 62-7, 37-7, or 38-7, 38-7, 33-16, 51-13. And some of those teams that I just named off were South Dakota State and Northern Iowa and St. Thomas and Youngstown State and Illinois State. These games were blowouts despite NDSU being in a good conference, the best conference in all of the FCS, and still dominating that conference year in and year out. Then you had a home game against Fordham. I think that this is going to be a win here once again. I don't see any issues here for the Bison. Then you have a road game against Air Force. And this is what I think is going to be one of the most interesting, underrated matchups in all of the FBS going into next year. Because if you look at this team, and Air Force obviously runs the triple option, and it is a team that I think has a lot of very interesting connections with this NDSU offense. Because if we look at this NDSU offense, Trey Drake, now the quarterback at NDSU, or at least probably going to be the quarterback. I could not tell if they named a starter yet. I could be wrong. They may have named him now. But this year, he didn't play much last year, was the number 3 quarterback behind Cole Payton, the starter, who went for about 3,100 yards and 30-plus touchdowns. But Cole Payton now in the NFL with the Eagles. So I think that this is a very interesting dynamic with a new quarterback under center. This Bison team obviously is always a run-first type of team. Even in the quarterbacks that they had, like Trey Lance or Carson Wentz, the really talented quarterbacks that they had that both went in the top 3 of their individual draft classes. I think that it's a team that they have a lot of development in that run game, the toughness that they have. So I am going to give the win here to the Bison. Obviously, Air Force had a disappointing year last year, a 4-8 record. And I believe the year before that, I'm trying to remember, 5-7, not a good record again as well. I think Air Force still has a lot of work to do, but I think that they have a better year this year, but we'll see. It's always tough to tell with the triple option teams, and it's always tough to tell with those service academies. Specifically, now it's a tough tell. Then you have a road game against Sacramento State. Obviously, Sacramento State finally finding themselves a way to get up to the FBS level with the MAC. That was a whole debacle with that. I think that this is a win here for the Bison. Sacramento State did not compete with North Dakota State when it came to this year. And I think that with that, they will be able to get a win there. So bye week next week. And they did play that first game against Jacksonville State in week 0. I didn't mention that. So they'll have 2 bye weeks. Then they have a home game against Wyoming. I think that this is also a win. I don't think Wyoming is the greatest of teams. I don't think they're a bad team by any means. But Wyoming going into this season still has a lot of issues from last year going 4-8. But they did have a lot of one-score games, a 6-point game against Nevada, a 3-point game against Air Force, and a couple other games. That the Colorado game, only a 17-point loss, but the Utah game was a 25-point loss. But then we look at one of the similarities here. They both played Northern Iowa and both played them at home. North Dakota State beat them by more. Obviously, doing like connections between 2 teams over 2 different seasons isn't a good prior, but right now it's all I kind of got with an NDSU team that didn't play in the same conference as Wyoming last year and now are. So I have the win for the Bison. They are 5-0. Then they head on the road to UNLV. I think that this is a loss here for the Bison. I think that UNLV and Dan Mullen have a great thing going on there in Las Vegas, and I think could possibly be the best team in the Mountain West Conference. If you want that information, we'll have to do that later. As I will hopefully have an UNLV video coming out later. But let me know what you think, whether you want a UNLV video. Then it is a home game against Nevada. I think that this Nevada team also one of the weaker teams in this Mountain West, really has been a weak team since Jay Norvell left and went to Colorado State with the more money. 3-9 last year. Easy win here for the Bison, especially at home. Then a road game against New Mexico. I have this as a loss. I think New Mexico, obviously one of the better teams in the Mountain West Conference, went 9-4 last year. Did lose a lot of their pieces, but I think that if any team is going to beat North Dakota State for the second time this season, I think that UNLV is a pretty firm loss, in my opinion. I don't really go back and forth on that one, but I had that as a loss. New Mexico, I have this as a win. I think that this is a loss as well, but I think that this is a lot closer to a win than the UNLV game. So I have that as a loss. But if that game was at North Dakota State, I feel a little more confident with it being in the Fargo Dome. Obviously, no conditions of North Dakota State like it is with like South Dakota State or Illinois State or Northern Iowa that you have conditions to deal with. But yeah, I think that's a loss there. UTEP, this is going to be a win. I think UTEP is by far one of the weakest programs in all of the FBS level. And North Dakota State, you can give them a lot of issues with their strength of schedule and the fact that a lot of teams just refuse to play NDSU after they beat a ranked Iowa team. A lot of FBS teams, I should say. Then you got your second bye week of the year before heading on to Honolulu, Hawaii, to play the Rainbow Warriors, which is just honestly one of my favorite mascots in all of college athletics. I have this as a win here for the Bison. If this was a back-to-back weeks, like if they were playing UTEP and then played Hawaii, I'd be a little more cautious. Not because I think Hawaii is a better team, but NDSU traveling that far, they have not traveled that far in so long. But I think Hawaii, a 9-4 team last year, was a very good team, beat California in the Hawaii Bowl last year, but was a 28-point difference between them and UNLV with the road game last year. So I just think that this team right now, there's a pretty big gap, I think, between like UNLV, NDSU, New Mexico, and then the rest of the conference. But Hawaii maybe could switch out with New Mexico. So you could convince me to switch out those games there. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Then you have a home game against Northern Iowa, another one of these Mountain West additions to the conference this year, along with Sacramento State and NDSU, obviously. I have this as a win. Northern Iowa or Northern Illinois, not Northern Iowa. My bad. Is I think a worse version of Northern Iowa. I think Northern Iowa most years is actually probably a better team than Northern Illinois. So I have that as a win for the Bison. Finally, a road game against San Jose State. And after Brett Brennan lost this program, the program at San Jose State has just not been the same. 3-9 last year with their only wins coming against Idaho. Somehow beat New Mexico. I forgot about that game. And beat Hawaii as well. Those were honestly the three strangest combinations of wins I've heard in quite some time. But a win there for the Bison. So I have the Bison going 10-2 with possibly going 11-1. I'm very interested to see how the Bison play this year. So let me know what your thoughts in the comment section down below. I know a lot of Bison's fans from my time being an Illinois State fan and obviously beating you guys last year. But that wraps up today's video. Make sure you hit one of the two videos down below and hit the subscribe button up here as well. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.